congregatio et secta diabolica, in nomine et virtute Domini nostri Jesu Christi, eradicare et effugare.
Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of Paranormal Howl Hour. I'm your host, Paranormal Howl, and I'm thrilled to have my co-host, Jinxie, back with us. How's it going, Jinx?
Oh, hello. Going good. I'm tired tonight.
How was your week this week?
It was long. Yesterday was like the longest day of my life, I think. I don't know why, but it was just like every minute was lasting 30 minutes. But I think it's because I was just itching to get off of work. I got a little bit further with my sweets and treats, spooky sweets and treats.
Yeah? You got any traction on that? What's going on?
I still have a ways to go, but I don't know. There's a lot to it. Just having a little mom and pop thingy going on, but I gotta bake some more, man. I gotta all that.
Yeah, start baking so I can start eating, please.
Okay.
All right, cool.
Be on that tomorrow.
All right.
How about you?
Finally got some traction on our website, the paranormalhowl.com website.
Yeah, you did.
We have
awesome.
We have the blog up. We have the lab with all of our research in there. Slow going, but I did make it public. So you can go and see www.paranormalhowl.com. So to my sister, go there, check it out. Let me know what you think.
To all our TikToker friends and followers.
That's right. Yeah, so hopefully we'll get the merch shop up soon and the contact page. And, you know, it's just slow rolling right now, but it's not like I'm not tech savvy, but also it's not like I do this every day. So I'm working on it. Let's talk a little bit about what we've been doing the past 2 days. I don't know if you've noticed. I mean, we've just been watching. I mean, normally we just watch scary stuff all the time, but we watched a scary documentary last night.
We did.
On the Conjuring house.
We did. We've been there, and we nitpicked it to death.
Yeah. And then we watched today for like the umpteenth time, because we watch it often. Demon House, Zach Bagans.
Yeah.
And it gave us goosebumps and scared us to no end.
It fucked me up this time watching it. Like, I'm not going to lie. Like, I think it fucked me up a little bit this time. Oh, can I say that? I guess I can. Little ears.
You just said it. No, I put explicit content on our website.
Okay. I don't know. I mean, this time, I don't know if it's like I pay attention a little bit more each time and I catch things that like I miss. Because you know me, I have to watch things like over and over before I get all of it. This time it really got me. And now that I've been doing like research on like paranormal stuff and like cryptids and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, I have to say that documentary, every time I watch it, even though I know what's about to happen, it still scares the shit out of me. It scares me, and it really bothers me that the house is gone and you can't go visit it and no one can go and do anything related to paranormal investigating.
I don't think that part bothers me because I think that would be one that I would be like, I don't know if I want to do this one. But I feel like he should have just boarded it up because I feel like there was truth to what, if you guys haven't seen it, spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert.
What the police officer said could have been true testament to, you let it out in the world.
Yeah. I mean, it has to have a vessel, right? There were too many things going on in that house, too many people being affected for it to just be demolished. And
if you guys haven't seen it, please.
Spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
I mean, it's a lot of spoiler alerts tonight, but like if you haven't gone on and seen like the Harrisville haunting or the Demon House, you guys, it's really good. We watch it often.
I really don't think, and I appreciate you doing the spoiler alert. I think that even if I do quote unquote spoil it or you quote unquote spoil it, it's still terrifying. I mean, every time I watch it, because I watched it without you, like on my own, it still scares me.
Well, and like, I don't know how everybody out there feels. I mean, like people have like their favorite shows. When you're into this, you have your favorite shows. But like with me, I like to watch all of them because I want to see how everybody is. I mean, I think that there are definitely some theatrics that go into some of these shows, but that's where I'm like, okay, well, let me go in there and see. Let me go have a little chitty chat. I like them all. They all have their different methods.
I don't like all of them.
like you can hear me.
Barely.
Well, but what if they might listen? I don't want to upset them.
I don't think listen to our podcast.
Okay. I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings.
Well, the only person's feelings you're going to be hurting are probably my sisters. So...
I wish I could ask everybody how they're doing out there, but I can't. How is everyone?
Ask everyone how we're doing, and my sister will text you and let you know.
There are more people. I mean, one of our TikTok followers started listening to it. Got a mess.
Who?
She's over in the UK.
Who?
Dark Princess.
Oh, cool.
I'll give her a plug. Go watch her TikTok. That's all I have for you this week. I'll have some goodies baked.
Tomorrow, please.
Wait, what is tomorrow? Monday?
Yeah.
Okay.
Labor Day.
Yeah, literally.
Woot woot. All right. Well, before we get into it, I've got to ask you, what's the weirdest thing you've ever seen in the woods? Oh, God. Am I going to regret asking you that?
The weirdest thing?
Yeah. Like spooky weird. Not like, weird.
Okay. I have been in the backwoods of Texas. I have been in the backwoods of Minnesota. I've seen some freaky shit. Like, I've seen ritualistic stuff. I've seen...
In, like, happening?
No, like, not happening, but, like, things hanging from, like, the trees where they've had, like, rituals happen and...
Like Blair Witch shit?
Yeah, kind of.
Get the fuck out.
No.
Ooh, okay. Where? Where was it? Tell me.
There's actually, like, a house that we used to go down, like, this dirt road. I don't remember. But on Halloween... there was this house that they were Satanists and they hated people driving down the road. So we would aggravate them on Halloween, but they would scare the shit out of us. They would have like dead carcasses of animals like hanging from the trees and
in Texas.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, like back in the woods, I mean, you would find things, like the things that freak us out, like how the stones stack, the stacking of the stones.
Oh, yeah, I hate that.
You can tell, you can tell like little like fires and stuff that have been burnt and you have like wooden like little stars and crosses and shit. And, it's in Texas. It's either one or two things, people doing ritualistic shit or it's people in the white hats.
No, not again. They've made it into the third episode. All right. Well, I'm going to do what I did the first episode, and I'm going to give you 3 guesses. I'm going to give you 3 clues, and you're going to get 3 guesses. I know, you hate it. You hate it.
Because I'm not good at that game.
I know, but it's fun.
You.
All right. The first clue is the woods.
Seriously?
Yeah.
The woods. The Melonheads. I don't.
You just got it on the first try.
Okay, that needs to go in the books.
Oh my gosh, I'm not cutting that out. You earned that one.
Okay, good.
The people will know. So the other 2 clues were Connecticut and Ohio and people. Those were the 3 clues that I had. But you got it. We're going to talk about the Melonheads.
I've never heard of them until I moved here.
Really? Well, that makes sense because they're prominent in Connecticut and Ohio.
Yeah, we just have people of the hills.
Yeah, well, you better do that, Miss New Mexico and Miss Texas and Miss...
I'll circle back around.
Yeah, the hills have eyes, man.
They do.
Well, our own hills have eyes around this joint. So let's talk about the Melonheads. Melonheads are described across regions as small humanoid creatures with disproportionately large and misshapen heads. Despite these common physical traits, the stories about them diverge significantly between Connecticut and Ohio. So naturally, my first question is, why Connecticut and Ohio?
But wait, are they real people? You just said humanoids.
I said humanoid creatures. Yeah.
So are they like cryptids? Are they creatures? Are they human? I have questions.
Well, I only read about 2 sentences into my story, so maybe if you wait, I'll let you know.
Are they inbred? I want to know all the things.
Well, both states have histories of isolated communities and abandoned institutions, which have become fertile ground for the growth of urban legend. Mental asylums and orphanages, often surrounded by dense woods, have provided the perfect setting for these eerie tales. The legends in both states are linked to mental asylums, notorious for mistreatment and mysterious occurrences. The stigma associated with mental illness and deformities likely contributed to the emergence of the Melonhead stories. In Ohio, the tales sometimes include elements of Cold War era fears about government experiments, while in Connecticut, the focus is often on abusive treatment at institutions.
It's really sad.
It is sad. Here we go again with the sadness.
I feel like it starts off sad, but there's some really creepy, scary shit about them.
The strong tradition of oral storytelling in both regions helped preserve and evolve these legends. The isolation of rural areas and the presence of abandoned institutions provided a backdrop for these mysterious stories, allowing them to flourish in local folklore. The rural and wooded landscapes of both states enhanced the appeal of such legends. The idea of encountering a cryptid in the remote areas adds to the suspense and allure of the Melonheads legend. So I'm going to tell you first about Connecticut. Melonheads in Connecticut are prominent folklore in primarily Fairfield County and New Haven.
That's close to us.
Yeah, both of them are very close to us. The Melonheads legend in Connecticut often involves tales of inhumane experiments on children. According to one prominent version, these experiments were conducted at local asylums such as Fairfield Hills or New Haven Asylum. The experiments, ranging from genetic modifications to cruel treatments, supposedly caused the children's heads to swell and deform grotesquely. After escaping, the deformed individuals were believed to retreat into the dense woods, where they now live in hiding. An alternative origin story suggests that the Melonheads are descendants of isolated inbred families living in the backwoods of Connecticut. Over generations, isolation and genetic abnormalities allegedly led to their distinctive appearance. These stories often focus on specific locations, such as roads nicknamed Dracula Drive.
Oh, I like that drive.
Yeah, I've driven you down it, remember?
Yeah, you rolled down the windows.
I did. I stopped the car.
And you stopped the car. I wasn't as scared as I was on Goatman's Bridge.
Oh, well, I was scared and I was just trying to scare you. So I don't know what that tells anyone, but so there are regional legends, like I just said, Fairfield Hills and Dracula Drive. Fairfield Hills Hospital, which closed in the 1990s, is central to some Melonhead stories. Locals claim that former patients abandoned by the hospital or escaping its confines became the Melonheads. The legend also suggests that these beings might resort to cannibalism to survive, fiercely defending their territory from intruders. Dracula Drive refers to several secluded roads in Connecticut, including Sawmill City Road in Shelton, Velvet Street in Trumbull, and Zion Hill Road in Milford. Do you remember that one night that I was like, let's go for a drive, and I brought you to all three of those roads?
Yes.
That was fun.
We should do it again. It's about that time of year.
It is about that time of year. Despite the lack of physical evidence, Melonhead sightings remain a popular topic. Stories of fleeting glimpses of small figures in the woods or glowing eyes in the dark continue to circulate. The legend thrives in local culture, with stories shared around campfires and online forums reflecting themes of isolation and fear. The Melonheads have become a staple in Connecticut's regional folklore. Their stories echo broader themes found in other urban legends, like the Jersey Devil or Mothman, reinforcing their role in the local mythologies. Now, the Ohio Melonheads, like I mentioned, similar to the Connecticut Melonheads, with some differences. There are a couple of origin stories for the Ohio Melonheads. One of them, it involves Kirkland Asylum in Kirtland, Ohio. The asylum, known for housing patients with severe deformities, is said to have been the site of escapees who transformed into the Melonheads. Similar to Connecticut, some Ohio tales suggest that the Melonheads resulted from genetic mutations or scientific experiments gone wrong. These experiments, often tied to Cold War era fears, are said to have involved unethical practices that led to the Melonheads' distinctive appearance. The Melonheads in Ohio are described with large, bulbous heads and frail bodies. mirroring their Connecticut counterparts. This distinctive look is a key feature of the legend, contributing to their unsettling reputation. Accounts from Ohio describe the Melonheads as reclusive and rarely seen. When they do appear, they're often portrayed as hostile or mischievous. There are tales of strange occurrences or disappearances linked to these elusive beings. So I guess one of the other well-known stories is about a doctor named Dr. Crow, and it's spelled with an E at the end, and it could be interchanged between a C or a K for the first letter. But it was a tale of him being a demented doctor and basically finding orphans and doing experiments on them, and them escaping and going into the woods. So that's another one. The Melonheads have become embedded in Ohio's local folklore. They feature in ghost tours and popular culture, contributing to the region's broader collection of cryptids and paranormal phenomena. Their stories are part of the larger tradition of regional legends that highlight the intersection of fear and fascination with the unknown. Many skeptics dismiss the Melonheads as mere folklore. They argue that these tales are products of local hysteria or attempts to explain unexplained phenomena, such as strange noises or mysterious lights through the lens of cryptid lore. Some suggest that the legends of the Melonheads could be linked to misidentifications of wildlife or pranks. The fascination with mental institutions and their dark histories may also play a role in perpetrating these stories. The Melonheads remain a fascinating and eerie aspect of regional folklore in both Connecticut and Ohio. Their stories, filled with elements of fear and isolation and the supernatural, continue to intrigue and terrify, whether seen as folklore or fact. The Melonheads capture the imagery of those who encounter their tales. That's it. That's my story. Okay.
Okay, so like, aside from the bulbous heads,
Yes.
like they're both, like I get that, but that's like really sad. Like they just like let the people.
Well, I mean,
have there ever been like any like real encounters? Like people like, I mean, like what's the story? Do they not like us? They want us to stay away, or are they scared of us, or they run around with like chainsaws, or?
Well, here's the thing. Okay, let's take this one piece at a time.
Okay.
The thing that they all have in common, whether it's in Connecticut or Ohio, and I've even heard that there are some stories in Michigan about these people. I don't want to call them humanoid. I don't think that that's fair, because if they're coming from a matter of they might have been in an asylum, back in the day, you could be put into an asylum for literally anything. And when I show you a picture of this kid that has this deformity, and I'm not going to shit on the parents, but when you have a child with a deformity, back in the day, more oftentimes than not, those kids were not a part of society.
No.
And they were put into these asylums.
They locked them away.
And to have this be a part of the story, you kind of have to look at it in a way that I don't want to believe that it was kids. It makes it a little too unbelievable that kids would be experimented on, escape, and survive out in the woods on their own. I'm just saying. I don't think that that's the case. I remember growing up and going to field trips where they would be in the woods, like nature field trips. And this one particular area, people claim that the Melonheads lived in this one particular area. And that was my first exposure to that. And I was told that they were mental institution escape that hid in the woods and were cannibals. So that's an accurate portrayal of what I heard growing up. There's even a haunted house that we've frequented where one of the sections is all about the Melonheads.
Yeah, they got me kind of good the second year. I told them I wasn't afraid. They had to do better than that, and they got me.
They did get you.
Yeah.
They did. So, I mean, the problem is no one's taking pictures of these people. It's like a Bigfoot, right, in Connecticut, which is why the folklore leans towards humanoid, because if they're able to disappear, reappear, hide, this, that, the other thing, then I get it, right? There's a little bit of magic and whimsy to it. This is just one of those stories where yeah, you have a lot of people that have a story, but not a lot of proof. So, I mean, kind of like Connecticut's Bigfoot, the Melonheads.
Yeah.
And we do have a lot of asylums, mental institutions, state schools, sanatoriums in Connecticut.
Okay, but you're like, I didn't know this until you started pointing it out to me, because my great-great-grandmother had tuberculosis. She was from Kentucky, but they told her to go to the desert because it was dry air, right? And you have told me stories, and now I have learned on TV with all of these asylums, they also doubled as, like, that was the last place that a lot of people with TB, that was the last place they went. They would open up the back doors to the ocean air, and it's supposedly supposed to help.
Yep. I guess you would categorize Melonheads as an urban legend, not so much a cryptid. There's absolutely no evidence, and I feel like in order for it to be a cryptid, you have to have some type of evidence.
Yeah, well,
I've never heard of a cryptid not having evidence.
yeah. But like, I could see how there could be some truth to it. Maybe a little bit of, not so much as like them being called Melonheads, but like castaways, right? Because what happens to everybody? Like when an asylum closes, right? Those people have nowhere to go.
No, they get redirected to other hospitals.
Oh, okay. But like way back in the day, did they too? Always.
Yeah, I mean, like when Fairfield Hills closed.
Yeah.
Everyone was redirected to other localities, other state schools, somewhere where they would get the help. So the whole, like, just letting them roam free, that's not what happened. So that's the spooky tale of the Melonheads. Connecticut, Ohio, 2-for-1 special.
But okay, yeah, I do have questions. So like when you went on this field trip, like was it your teacher that told you, like, you know, there's like mentally ill people out in the woods?
No, I'm pretty sure it was my dad that told me about Melonheads. So when I went out into the nature, I'd be scared.
Oh, okay.
Because that's just what we do in my family. We just try to scare one another.
Do you think that there's parts of it that are true?
I mean, I definitely think there's people living in the woods. There can be all types of people living in the woods. Deformed, not deformed. Inbred, not inbred.
You think they're cannibals?
There can be cannibals. Cannibalism is legal in Connecticut. So, I mean,
get out of here.
It's legal in the U.S. aside from like two states. Yeah, cannibalism is legal. Murder isn't legal, but cannibalism is.
It's crazy.
Well,
okay.
You know, the way the world is going, it might not be so crazy in the near future. You've seen Book of Eli, right? Spoiler alert.
Spoilers.
That's all I'll say. Book of Eli.
So, like, pretty much the Melonheads are just like urban legends to like scare you out of the woods, or like when you're in the woods to like be creepy.
Yeah, for sure.
Scary campfires.
Yeah. Campfire tales. Yeah.
Okay. I went down a rabbit hole, and then I like just kept going deeper and deeper. But I too I'm a sucker for urban legends. This one freaked me out once I started going down the rabbit hole. Me being the traveler that I was. This urban legend comes from northern Minnesota. So a lot of people, upper Minnesota is very picturesque. It's kind of like Connecticut in the fall, right? You have the beautiful colors that are falling. You've got the crisp air. After reading all of the things that I read, it would definitely make me think twice about going on those long walks, you know, in dark wooded areas. So I may have to have some help pronouncing some of these words tonight because they kind of got me and I don't want to disrespect the names. The origins of my story are from the Algonquin folklore. They tell their stories in a poetic way that feature a range of mythological characters. This ancient tradition was a way for them to share their beliefs, values, and morals with others. So the one that I chose was the Wendigo.
That's a good one.
Okay. I did not know so much about it. I did, but I didn't, because it was kind of like, oh, well, it's like the Minnesotan Bigfoot, right? Hells to the no is not even close, not even in the same hemisphere. So the Wendigo is a malevolent spirit associated with winter and cannibalism. So funny, we both had the same topic going. The creature is said to possess humans and drive them to madness. The Proto-Algonquin word for Wendigo may have meant owl, and that kind of made sense to me when I started reading further down my little rabbit hole of how this cryptid actually acts. The spelling and the pronunciation varies depending on the First Nations that spoke. There was like 15 different ways of how to spell it, all with the W. The word Wendigo, depending on the First Nations that spoke the Algonquin language, it was Witigo, Wendigo, Wensiko, and Witkaka.
Of course you end with that one.
Of course I did. All right. Sorry, no disrespect to the Algonquin language, but do you know what Minnesota means? Like the literal name?
Tiny can of Coke.
No.
Oh. Minnesota.
No, it actually derives from the major natives that Clearwater. It is a derivative from the Dakota, otherwise, the Sioux. It was from Minnesota, Minnesota. The meaning was clear water that reflects the clouds in the sky above. It's a beautiful image that we don't have a word for in the English language because it was appropriated when the settlers had to fit into our English text. Minnesota became the term, what we now call the land between the man-made borders. So the Dakota and the Ojibwe, which the Europeans gave them the Ojibwe, they were originally also known as the Anishinaabe or Chippewa, which means the original people, were the most populous tribes in North America. So they are the ones that name was most prevalent with because of the meaning. And some bands of the Ojibwe that settled in northern Minnesota actually settled there after following a prophecy that led them to move west to the land where food grows on water. So I thought that was pretty cool. So it made me appreciate, I guess, the land a little bit better.
That's very cool.
Yeah. We have the Ojibwe, we have the Dakotas, we have the Chippewas. They settled Minnesota as early back as the 1600s. By the time that, when I was digging down into this, and I know I'm getting way off of the subject, but I went down a wormhole, I know. Like, okay, well, what happened to all of the native population? It was beginning about the 1850s. The Dakota Nation were relocated by the U.S. government to land along the Mississippi River as part of a treaty agreement between 1850 and 1860 as Minnesota non-natives population grew from 6,000 to 170,000, and the influx of people took a crucial provision and resources from the Dakotas. Ensuing hunger and hardships left to the U.S. Dakota War in 1862. In a speech on September 9th of 1862, Minnesota Governor Alexander Ramsey said the Sioux Dakota Indians of Minnesota must be exterminated or driven forever beyond the borders of Minnesota. So almost all of the Dakota people fled the state, hid, or were forced out. On the day after Christmas in 1862, 38 Dakota men were hung in Mankato. That was the largest public mass execution in history of the country to this day. In November 1965, 2 other men were hung outside of Fort Snelling, where women and children and elders were imprisoned in a concentration camp. Hundreds were taken by steamboat to Crow Creek in South Dakota. and then died after a lack of food needed to survive. So then in came the missionaries to convert the natives to Christianity. And by the 1800s, most of the Dakotas and the Ojibwe were skeletoned out, or they were colonized to be a part of what we know as our traditional civilization now in a civilized society. So off of that, I went down that rabbit hole because when I got into the story, I'm like, why did this ever come about? So now I'll get to the scary, creepy part. While the Wendigo creature is considered by many to be a creation of horror by a European writer, Algernon Blackwood, in his classic tale, The Wendigo, the wood spirit was and is very real to many in the northern woods and prairies of the state. Legends and stories say that a mysterious creature was encountered by hunters and campers in the shadowy forests of the upper regions of Minnesota. In one variation of the story, the creature could only be seen if it faced the witness head on, because it was so thin and it could not be seen from the side. The spirit was said to have a voracious appetite for human flesh, and the many forest dwellers who disappeared over the years were said to be victims of the monster. The American Indians had their own tales of the Wendigo, dating back as far as the first white and European settlers. The Inuit Indians of the region called the creature by various names, which included Wendigo, Wittigo, Wittico, and Wee-Tiko. But each of them was roughly translated to mean the evil spirit that devours mankind. Around 1860, a German explorer translated Wendigo to mean cannibal among the tribes along the Great Lakes. The Native American versions of the creature spoke of a gigantic spirit over 15 feet tall that had once been human but had been transformed into a creature by the use of magic. Though all of the descriptions of the creature vary slightly, the Wendigo is generally said to have glowing eyes, long yellow fangs with razor-sharp teeth, claws, and missing lips. They possess overly long tongues like lizards and snakes, and most of them have a sallow, yellowish, and ash-gray skin, but others are said to be matted with hair. They are tall and lanky. Some of them said have a supernatural stance, again of 15 plus feet high, and can't be seen from the side profile due to being severely thin and gaunt, and are driven by a horrible hunger. But how would a person grow to become one of these strange creatures? The Wendigo is said to have been created whenever a human resorts to cannibalism to survive. In the years past, such a practice was possible, although still rare, as many of the tribes and settlers in the regions were cut off by the bitter snows and the ice of the northern woods. Unfortunately, eating another person to survive was sometimes resorted to, and thus the legend of the Wendigos was created.
That's disgusting.
But how real were or are these creatures? Could the legend of the Wendigo have been created merely as a warning against cannibalism? Or could the sightings of a Bigfoot-type creature have created the stories? While this is unknown, it is to believe that white settlers to the region took to the stories very seriously. According to the settlers' version of the legend, the Wendigo would often be seen banshee-like to signal a death in the community. A Wendigo had allegedly made a number of appearances near a town called Roseau in northern Minnesota from the late 1800s through the 1920s. Each time it was reported on an uninspected death followed, and finally, it was seen no more. Even into the last century, Native Americans actively believed in and searched for the Wendigo. One of the most famous Wendigo hunters was a Cree Indian named Jack Fiddler. He claimed to have killed at least 14 of the creatures in his lifetime, although the last murder resulted in his imprisonment at his age of 87. October 1907, Fiddler and his son Joseph were tried for the murder of a Cree Indian woman. They both pleaded guilty to the crime, but defended themselves by stating that the woman had been possessed by the spirit of a Wendigo and was on the verge of transforming into one entirely. According to their defense, she had to be killed before she murdered other members of the tribe. There are still many stories told of the Wendigos that have been seen in northern Ontario, near the Cave of the Wendigo, and around the town of Kenora, where a creature has been spotted by traders, trackers, and trappers for decades. There are many who still believe that the Wendigo roams the woods and the prairies of northern Minnesota and Canada. Whether it seeks human flesh or acts as a precursor of coming doom is anyone's guess. But before you start to doubt that it exists, just remember that these stories and legends of this fearsome creature have been around since before the white man walked on these shores. The legends had to have gotten started somehow. The ultimate legend of the Wendigo, per the Native Indians, is believed to be a symbol of the dangers of selfishness. So that's why I kind of went down the whole rabbit hole, because how do you feel about how the origin of that started?
I mean, I always thought, like what you just said at the end, it's a Native American tale of an elemental in the woods, in the forest. I knew that it was a cannibal elemental. I didn't know all of that history, so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah. I mean, when it said, when it first said that the meaning of the Wendigo, when they brought the owl part of it, I mean, there have been stories, and there have been times where some of these campers, trappers, whatever, have heard a screeching, like banshee-like. And they said by the time that you heard that, it was already too late.
So that's the only thing that would make it similar to an owl, is that owl-like screeching. Because the description you gave, the physical description, that shit doesn't look like an owl at all.
Right. And so
the fuck are the lips?
Okay. Looking at these pictures, they're crazy. Crazy, scary looking. Like, I do not want to run into one in the woods. Not one bit. No, thank you. No, sir. I would rather run into Bigfoot than run into one of these scary shits.
I've also heard that Wendigos mimic to draw you closer to them, to get you further away from your group if you're in one, get you isolated.
That's part of, when they were brought up. I mean, I guess that was a little sprinkle of magic that was given to them. But yeah, they will mimic, they will screech.
Have you ever seen Pet Sematary?
Yeah. I mean, it's been like years. We need to watch it. That needs to be one of our Howling movies.
Okay, we'll watch it. I'll just leave it there.
I just remember church.
Well, yeah, that's because the neighborhood fucking alley cat looks like church.
Yeah.
After church got hit. How that thing is still living, I do not know. Okay, so obviously it has something to do with your story. So just keep that in mind. And for those of you listening, take a look-see at Pet Sematary.
So yeah, so I thought that was, I didn't know how, I didn't think I was going to go down a rabbit hole. I was going to go, oh, Wendigo. Yeah, it's, it's malevolent. It's an elemental, cryptid. Many people call it different things. So
I just find it funny how it was used as a deterrent for cannibalism, even though it is itself a cannibal.
Yeah, and it absolutely terrified the white settlers. I mean, to the point where a
lot terrified the white settlers. It
didn't take much.
No, it didn't.
As fearful as they were, shame on you. You shoot all the natives off of their land. So what do you expect?
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't mess with them. I wouldn't go. I didn't know. Well, I didn't know that it was the origin of it was Minnesota. That would have been the last place that I would have thought. It
literally is so Roseau, it is literally up by the boundary waters, BCWA, British Columbia waters, whatever. It is literally up there in the corner. So it's in the boundary water territory, as they call it. So
can you imagine just being out in the woods and then hearing blood-curdling owls screech?
No, because even when I went to Duluth and I would go hiking, you would hear weird shit.
Mm-hmm.
But Duluth is still on the coast of, it's not a coast, it's a lake, but it's on Lake Superior.
Yeah.
This is like 3 hours north up into like the dead of woods. So
Yeah. And those are some deep woods.
yeah, I mean, I'd always heard stories of, you say, when like when we're going down, when you said you would go hiking with your story about the Montauk Project,
Yeah.
how it would get like really dark.
You're talking about Dudleytown?
I'm talking about Dudleytown. I'm sorry. But
Go check out episode 1.
I'm getting confused now. Like the coverage would literally make it, dark all the time.
Yeah. It's the canopy, the forest canopy.
Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome.
So that's my story.
Yeah.
Go check out some pictures of him.
Are you sticking to it?
I'm sticking to it, man.
Or are you going to show me some pictures or what?
No, I just told y'all guys to go check out some pictures.
Oh, I'm going to put the pictures. Okay, I'll put the pictures in
We're going to post the pictures
on the website.
On the website.
Okay. Will do. I'll add that to my list.
Okay.
Good job. Good story.
Thanks. Yours was good too.
Very educational.
I'm gonna be looking out for this. Okay, so back the truck up. I do have one more other question.
Okay.
About the Melonheads.
Sure.
They said they had glowing eyes.
That was one of the things. I'm pretty sure that in the haunted attraction that we go to,
yeah,
they mentioned that some type of radiation deformed them or something like that. There's so many different stories. And there are so many different renditions. There's so many different theories as to who these people are. I'll put it this way. Don't think too hard about it. This is one of those stories that you just have fun getting scared to, right? It's fun to be scared and think about it when you're around a campfire with your friends.
Yeah. And
you're talking about the Melonheads in the woods.
Or go down Devil's Road. Yeah. Dracula Drive. That's what it's called.
I knew you'd get it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, like if you're going to talk about the radiation, that's more down like the hills have eyes, people.
I know. And you keep mentioning that. So you need to do a story about that. Okay. Or else I'm gonna.
I hope all you guys are getting ready for spooky season. I am. Get your houses all decorated.
Well, my sister was sending pictures of the tubs in her living room.
Yeah.
Full of all of her spooky shit.
You're decorating already too.
Well, yeah. Well, 'tis the season to get spooky, right?
That's right.
And that wraps up another hauntingly good episode of Paranormal Howl Hour. We hope you've enjoyed the chilling ghost stories and eerie accounts we've explored tonight. If the supernatural has left you craving more, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe to our podcast. We have plenty of more spine-chilling tales and mysterious happenings coming your way. You can find us at all of your favorite podcast platforms. Listen to us on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube Music, Amazon Music, and Stitcher. We're also on iHeartRadio, so no matter where you tune in, we've got you covered. Want to join the conversation or share your own paranormal experiences? Follow us on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. We would love to hear your ghost stories and spooky theories, so don't be shy. Send your stories over to boocrewhq@hotmail.com with a chance to be featured on an episode of the Howlcast. That's right, I said it. It's a hotmail.
'Cause we're hot.
But not male. I can't believe we're making that a thing, but it's a thing now.
It's a thing now.
And we're sticking to it.
That's right.
Your support keeps the haunt alive and helps us bring you more spine-chilling content. Until next time, keep your lanterns lit and your minds open. The shadows are always lurking. Keep howling.